early as it did just a little bit ago. But again, there's big wind that stretches through Round Top from Carmine and then back over to Burton and like we said, Greenvine a little bit earlier. At the very least, there's winds in excess of 60 miles per hour coming your way. So right now, at least where the rotation is going to stay south of Brenham. But we need to watch this. Again, there's Highway 290, there's Brenham, and then there's where the most compelling rotation has been. But even on the outside of that, that's what we call a rear flank downdraft. It is very likely at the very least pushing out wind gusts in excess of 70 miles per hour. Kiwan, I believe we had our storm chaser Bob Pack that he was near 290. Is this additional flooding video that we're looking at, or is this live? Okay, very good. This Anna Maynard is out there right now. Okay, she's at Munson and Brentwood, and she's, obviously this is just a normal road, where your neighborhood where there are trouble spots and things like that, but there's water over just about every road that you could take in a drive that lasts more than 3 to 5 minutes, right? So again, here in town, the biggest concern is flooding. Fortunately, this is the only tornado warning that we have that is in southwestern, Washington County.
And Max, what we were just looking at there with Anna's shot on Munson, a lot of stranded vehicles around town right now. Looking at the traffic maps, Highway 6, Harvey Road, even Highway 30, we are still seeing water over the roadways, even though the rain, the force of the rain has come down just a little bit over the last couple of minutes. We still do have a lot of water over roadways. Texas Avenue in College Station is covered. Harvey Road, I've been told, out near Sam's Club, so in the area of Post Oak Mall, that is underwater. But what you're seeing there in that shot, that's on Munson and College Station. That was one of the first areas where the fire department got called out early, just probably about an hour ago, when the rain really started to come down. And what you're seeing are drivers like this driver right here, who probably got caught off guard because this came down really quick and water quickly filled the roadways, and we ended up having the fire departments in both Bryan and College Station responding to a lot of water rescues all across town from drivers who honestly just probably got caught off guard. And you see him there taking a look at the engine and under the hood. That's going to be a repeated story that we're really seeing all across the area, especially in the central area of College Station,
right over
Longmire Drive and Harvey Mitchell, Texas Avenue. So that's the big issue that we're seeing up here in Bryan College Station. But Max, I know that there's also other concern elsewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. And the biggest imminent concern for any damage would be down in southwest Washington County, which I believe we did have Bob Pack's shots. If we could go back to that really quickly, I do believe that he is along 290 in Washington County. Imagine that he's looking into the storm, and here's the thing: what you see there is clouds and a little bit of rain. So the biggest concern here is that if we do have a tornado, this is very likely rain wrapped and you won't be able to see it. At the very least, again, strong winds in excess of 50 to 60 miles per hour. This is not for BCS. This is even just to the south and west of Brenham for Washington and Austin counties especially. So he's panning the shot there. And again, it's hard to make out any additional rotation just because it is already so wet. There's so much rain falling with that. Let's go back over to radar, and we'll get you an update on that particular storm, and then we'll look elsewhere. But so it's that area right there, still right along the Washington and Austin County line. There's Burton, so just to the south of you, again, no imminent tornado threat for you or for Round Top, but very, very strong storm overhead. So again, just stay put where you are. But it was Greenvine, and then right along that Washington and Austin County line. Let's zoom in even a little bit more, Berkeley, and see if we can find a couple of FM, some county roads there. There's 237. It's to the east of there, again, east of Round Top. Not quite to Industry just yet. You're not technically included in this warning, but if you know any folks who live, right over the Austin, Washington County line, there's Wesley, there's Greenvine. Again, the rotation is right there. Lasham, that rotation is right overhead, and at the very least, wind gusts in excess of 50 to 60. Okay, so there it is, FM 389, and there's the county line right there. There's FM 389. So that is where the biggest concern is. And Berkeley, help me out here. My eyes not good enough. What is that FM right there south of Wesley going through?
Hold on.
No,
See if I
no
can get
problem.
it.
So again, there's
Where's that?
389.
389
And then I believe it was 29 something. I apologize. Again, in between Lasham and Wesley.
Oh. Go
Is
back.
that like 2902, I believe? Yeah, so that's where the rotation is overhead right now. Again, we'll keep an eye on this here, and let's go ahead and zoom out and look at the northern part of that storm, because there are still some big winds that are going to move along 290 just west of Brenham. Big thunderclap here at the studio right now, but again, this is the biggest concern wind-wise, and again, the potential for a tornadic storm as well. I think wind damage is going to be likely there in between where we saw Greenvine and all the way back up into Burton. Yeah, so as you can see, as we go a little bit farther north, the wind's not quite as concerning, anywhere from 20 to 25 miles per hour, maybe a little bit higher than that up towards Gay Hill, but into Burleson County, no imminent severe weather threat for you. All right, Berkeley, let's zoom out. Let's look at this complex as a whole, because again, there are areas of clearing, so that is good. Some spots that are under flash flood warning or a flood advisory, what have you, where things will start to improve here. Milan County especially, most of Lee County, things are starting to look better, but the heavier rain is moving into Brazos County as we speak. And we've got a couple of folks out and about who are seeing water still over the roadways, so we didn't really have enough time to recede all that water just yet. We're going to get one more round of heavier rain, and then I would imagine by the 6 o'clock hour or so, we're going to start to calm things down. So, in fact, what I would like to do, Berkeley, if you'll trace a storm track right at about there, and then push that eastbound, and we'll call that at about 40 miles per hour or so, and we can start to talk about when things will begin to wrap up or so. Yeah, about 40 to 45 is fine. Okay, so this is when things are going to start to quiet down for you. Calvert, here within the next 10 to 15 minutes or so, you'll start to see things wrap up. The Lyons area along 36 at about 5:30. BCS, again, hopefully before we get to the end of this, before we get to the 6 o'clock hour is where we're expecting things to wrap up. But from about now until around at least 5:45 or so, it is highly recommended that you stay indoors, and even a little bit after that, because we're going to need some more time for these waters to recede. The good news is things are looking a lot drier beyond that. Madison County on the west side, probably closer to about 6 o'clock, where you've got another round of heavy rain coming your way, but about 6:05, maybe 6:15, we'll start to see that heavier rain come to an end. Iola as well, around 6:10. So having that get to western Grimes County right at about the 6 o'clock hour. If you don't mind, Berkeley, let's get one more look at that Washington-Austin County storm real quick.
Yeah.
Lost internet connection here, so I'm trying to get that back. But okay, so very, very heavy rain. Somerville, there's Brenham, and again, it's along and south of 290. There's the tornado warning box. Can you move that a little bit west, and we'll get back on the EWX radar site?
Yep.
Because the Houston one's a little bit muddled there. So we've got a League City radar that's reaching into this storm, and then one towards New Braunfels. Yeah, that should do it. So again, there's that tornado warning box, and it was right over the Austin and Washington County line where we were watching that. What do we have here? Okay, flash flood warning on everybody's watches, phones, and all that good stuff just went off just in time, right? So again, very likely for that additional round of heavy rain that's moving into BCS right now. So let's put that in motion if we can. And do we have any additional video of some of the flooding that we saw about an hour ago that we can play? Okay. If we want to play that while we're loading up this radar stuff, that would be fantastic.
And Max, I can tell you the Bryan Police Department's been tweeting. They've been responding to high water reports at Oak Ridge and Barrack Lane, Sunnybrook Lane and Stillmoto Drive, Carter Creek and East 29th, so just around the corner from the TV station here. Bryan Police Department says officers are checking flooded vehicles and getting occupants to safety. BTU says they've got scattered outages because of the storms, and crews are responding to restore power as they are able. The other thing, Max, that we're getting reports of, obviously the flooding's the big issue, but fallen trees. The
Right.
city of Huntsville has a number of trees down. The Bryan Police Department said in the 3600 block of Welborn, they've got a tree that's fallen in northbound lanes. So we're dealing with flooding. You're dealing with the rotation down in the Austin-Fayette County area. And there's also the trees that are falling, the wind and the soil that's already drenched just taking on more and more water.
Yeah, and that was another concern with today, because most of these videos, if you see any water near trees, you can see the roots are starting to get exposed, and it's just very, very saturated. And so what would normally take a 60, 70 mile per hour wind to knock down these well-established trees, we're finding that a 40 mile per hour wind can do the same. This video from a little bit earlier, when man, it was just torrential out there. And we had that live view of that, what was that, a Charger Corvette, that was essentially underwater. And now, fortunately, that water has receded. So that's what we need. We just need a little bit more time. The problem is, it is starting to get heavy again, though not as heavy as that first round that rolled through. The flooding threat will continue for at least a little while longer because of this round that is moving through. So I don't believe that the wind is going to be as strong as it was with this first round that rolled through either, largely because we got a lot more stable in the atmosphere. We jumped down into the upper 60s. There was some pretty gusty wind here in town as well. But again, this is not going to make things any better for that drive home. And remember the time, it's about 5:20. This is typically when a lot of folks are on the road. In fact, can we look at a couple of live eyes, maybe that Briarcrest and Highway 6 one, see what the highway looks like? Because again, there we go. Okay, so there's obviously a lot of wind blowing as it's shaking around there. And it looks like folks are driving responsibly. So that is a pleasant surprise. Again, not that we're expecting these major roadways to be all underwater at this point, but for a little while it was looking like it could get that way. So again, that's Briarcrest and Highway 6. Looks like a lot of folks either waiting to leave or maybe already did a little bit earlier. But again, it is going to get a little bit heavier, especially along the Highway 6 corridor before things start to wrap up. So I want to look one more time at this storm down in Washington and Austin County, because there is still that tornado warning in effect, I believe, until 5:30. Brenham folks, I do think that at least as far as the tornado potential is concerned, that is going to pass you to the south, but there's still some very strong wind that is rolling into town right now. There's radar sampling anywhere from 50 to 55 miles per hour. The biggest concern now is over Austin County. And there's not a great view at any rotation here. And so essentially what we're looking at is this thunderstorm is pushing out all this energy, and it's kind of contending with these low-level winds that are cranking up very high from the south. And so sometimes that's how you get the rotation started, and sometimes that's how you actually get a tornado to form. But largely it looks like that outflow of this thunderstorm is winning out, and the momentum is carrying that south and eastward into Austin County. So hopefully that means that the tornado threat is lower, so the potential for 100, 110, 120 mile per hour winds in a more concentrated spot is lower, but we're still sampling winds anywhere from 60 to 65 miles per hour moving toward Belleville. So again, that's the area to watch if you're in northern Austin County for a potential spin-up tornado. But either way, very, very strong wind moving through. Been a lot of cloud-to-ground lightning today too, Rusty.
Yeah, a lot of outages that both being reported by BTU and College Station. And Max, I'm scanning all my messages and the Google traffic maps. I will tell you the area of most concern that I've seen right now, it's that area along Texas Avenue and College Station near the Walmart, where Harvey Mitchell and Deacon and even Longmire on the other side of Texas, that whole area just seems to be underwater right now, and police are blocking off a lot of those roads.
Yeah, and again, fortunately, this is not the type of thing that will last all the way until midnight and into tomorrow for the most part. These well-traveled roadways, the major roads, they just need some time for the water to recede. And again, unfortunately, I do think it's going to get a little bit worse before it gets better. Obviously, just just where the live eye is here over Briarcrest and 6. You see southbound 6 is backed up a little bit, very likely just because it's raining and folks are taking it easy. Hopefully there's not a wreck on 6. But again, traffic is moving slow. If you are already at home, it's a good idea to stay home for at least the next hour or so. Again, once this round rolls out, things will improve pretty quickly. But for right now anyways, you don't want to be driving out in this anyway. We've still got a sustained wind, about 25, 30. Again, temperatures are down into the 60s, and that's what that first round of rain did a little bit earlier, which is making this round not quite as potent, at least in our neck of the woods. But a lot of this area, southern Washington, Austin, Waller, southern Grimes, Montgomery, was rain-free for a lot of the afternoon. Okay. Okay.
I think we're going to go to Morgan Rydell.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do that.
I'm here at the corner of Spring Lane and Broadmoor Drive, where standing water is covering this intersection here in Bryan, and it's not the only one. Situations like this can be found around town right now, and it's creating a dangerous situation for everyone involved. I spoke with officers right at the beginning of this roadway who said it's best not to drive through here. A few vehicles already got stuck, but it's dangerous conditions for everyone involved, so avoid this area and others around town that we tell you are flooded. In Bryan, Morgan Rydell, News 3.
Yeah, that's thank you, Morgan. That's kind of telling you the scope of it. That was just one neighborhood in Bryan, and so a lot of folks had to deal with that right as kiddos were getting out of school, as a lot of people were getting out of work, and again, this next heavy round that's rolling through is going to make things worse before they get better. But the good news is this is moving at a quicker pace than the round that came before it. We're already starting to see things clear out. But as you just heard, at least if you live near the station, there's a lot of lightning with it. And again, still very, very heavy rain.
You know what's interesting, Max? A lot of the flooding that we're seeing across the area this evening, it's in the neighborhoods. It's
Right.
not Highway 6, it's not 21, OSR, even Highway 30, although the traffic is slower on those roadways. We're seeing most of the flooding in the neighborhoods, in the back roads of both Bryan and College Station.
And the way most of the neighborhoods in BCS anyway are designed is, you've got creeks running through them. And as long as it doesn't rain too hard, too fast, for the most part, the water can stay confined to the creeks. You might get some standing water here and there. But the big issue is if it rains too much, it doesn't have anywhere to go but up and over roadways.
Look at the rain blowing sideways there. Where is this at? Do we know?
I believe this is Bob Pack. So remember a little bit earlier, we went to him, not even, right.
Gotcha.
Okay, yeah, exactly. I believe he's in Washington County. I think he's somewhere in the neighborhood of Brenham. And not even 10 minutes ago, you just saw some clouds and it was pretty calm. But obviously it's raining in buckets, it's raining sideways as well. So that's the type of stuff that you're dealing with in Washington County as well.
I'll tell you, Max, right now, 290 and 36 in Brenham. So down in Washington County, it's at a standstill. Traffic's just come to a halt in Brenham.
Rain's starting to pick up here in BCS also.
Also got a crash reported northbound Highway 6 coming into Brazos County. So anyone going from Navasota up to College Station, when you get to around the 159 exit, looks like we've got maybe one or two crashes reported northbound there. The rest of the roadways, the major roadways, they're slow, but that's the only significant crash we're seeing at this time.
And Berkeley, I believe you were looking at some outage maps.
Yes, and I'm getting a lot of reports in chat from people in Brenham near 290 that say that their power's out.
Yeah,
they also say Bob Pack was on the corner of 290 at Walmart in Brenham.
Okay.
So that's where that shot was from. But lots of power outages in and around where that tornado-warned storm was.
Yeah, and so whether that was a tornado or straight line wind damage, I mean, at a certain point, damage is damage, power outages are power outages, and at the very least, it was 55, 60-mile-per-hour winds that rolled through. And we showed you earlier, it really didn't even take that much to knock down some trees and power lines and things like that. So that's the strongest wind that we have on hand. This is the heaviest rain that we have seen since we started the 5 o'clock newscast. That is right over the Highway 6 corridor, and then a little bit off to the north and east once you get past Bryan. So Wixon Valley, all the way back up into Wheelock, and then it kind of gets a little bit lighter once you get into Robertson and Leon County. So that's good news for you. This is a loop over the past hour or so. And again, it's clearing out pretty quickly. So almost at no more rain, Cooks Point. Crispin, you're starting to look at quieter weather. And again, other than a couple of spotty showers, maybe an isolated storm here and there, this is where we are likely going to wrap up the widespread thunderstorms across the area. So if you're at work right now waiting to say, when the heck can I go home? Maybe wait another 30 to 45 minutes or so. And I will tell you, again, the creeks, they're doing what they're designed to do. It just takes a little while for these, waters to recede, even in the neighborhood roadways. And things will drastically improve, at least here in town, over the next about 30 to 45 minutes. Now, again, near river crossings and then the areas that are those lower lying spots, that's where it's going to take quite some time for waters to recede. Some of those roadways that are over creek and river crossings and things like that, not a guarantee that they'll be instantly better here within the next half hour to hour.
Max, we're going to pop up, I believe, the drivetexas.org, just give folks an idea of what areas that are underwater. Now, I do believe that the red markings, those may be the construction zones. So if we can click off the red and then just see there appears to be one area. What is it? There you go. What does it look like, Max?
That's either the service road of Highway 6 or Highway 6 itself.
So the service road, I did just receive one video showing that water is blocking people in at Grand Station on Highway 6 along in College Station. So although the Highway 6 may not be impacted right now, what you're going to see is probably some water flowing over the roads, the feeder roads of 6 and maybe some of the other major highways, and that's what we're seeing right now. Let's go over to the BTU outage map. We were talking about power outages. Scattered outages throughout the BTU coverage area. When you zoom in, I believe it's just south of downtown Bryan that we're seeing maybe the most outages. So it's really impacting neighborhoods all over. But Max, I think the area is most impacted, at least with BTU right now. It's just south of downtown, right in between the University, College Station City line, all the way up through Midtown and into downtown.
Yeah. Okay. So let's kind of start over where we began with. We're going to talk about the next couple hours, and then we'll jump right back into radar. So again, ongoing flooding right now. I would say through at least the 6 to 7 o'clock hour here in BCS. A little bit after that, across our eastern counties. There's still a tornado watch. In fact, obviously we've seen that tornado warned storm that we are watching. But I will tell you right now that tornado threat is going down as we speak. We're in the 60s right now. So here in BCS, not worried about that for the rest of the evening. And so we'll keep you updated as Weather Service kind of trims those back and the spots where we still think that's a possibility. The flooding round, the next round of flooding is ongoing right now. Very heavy rain falling overhead, and it will continue here for at least the next 15 to 20 minutes or so. The severe thunderstorm watch for Milam, Robertson, Leon County, that was allowed to expire right at the top of the hour. Tornado watch continues until 10 o'clock, but again, I can tell you right now that Burleson, Brazos, Madison, and probably Houston counties will likely be trimmed back from this sooner rather than later. That orange and red you see, though, are the ongoing severe thunderstorm warnings and the tornado warnings. And then all of this mess of the green and maroon boxes just telling us that it's flooding, right? So we know that part at the very least. I do want to get one more update on this storm because this is the most immediate concern, especially in terms of wind damage. And that is now to the east of Brenham. So the good news, if you're in Brenham or anywhere to the north and west of there, severe threat is largely over for you. But we need to watch this for Belleville and for Hempstead, southeastern Burleson, or Washington County. That's right along 290. That's going to keep crashing into eventually Waller County after that, already in portions of northern Austin County as well. Big look at the complex of thunderstorms that we're looking at. And again, as far east as western Brazos County now, we are starting to wrap things up. Still very, very heavy rain falling here in BCS, but over the next half hour, maybe even quicker than that, we will start to wrap things up, at least as far as the active rain is falling. It'll probably take another half hour after that for some of even these major roads to see water recede. But Navasota, you're still in the thick of it right now, very heavy rain. Some other folks we haven't talked about for a little while, southeastern Grimes County, some strong winds likely as those storms push through. And back into Montgomery, San Jacinto, Liberty, Polk County, Trinity County, those areas that have already gotten 2 feet of rain in the month of May. Unfortunately, you're going to get a couple more inches before we get to the end of the day today. Madisonville, up towards Centerville, along and north of I-45, you're pretty free of any huge severe threat as of right now. And again, there's a little bit of activity now just off to the north and west, but there's largely minimal concern with that. There's not even all that much lightning. Just turn the lightning counter on. Obviously, very electric storm that will keep pushing to the east. Okay. Yes. Okay. Let's throw up that text.cam Highway 6 and University just to see how things are going there. It's slow, right, Rusty?
It's very slow. The College Station Independent School District put out a note, and I think this is pretty obvious, but they're telling parents with the school bus routes this afternoon, everything is still as normal, but expect the buses to be delayed. In some of the pictures and the videos, and thank you to everyone who's been sending in pictures and videos, because that helps us to tell the story. I've seen pictures of school buses that are having to do turnarounds and U-turns, and so if your kid hasn't made it home just yet, we've not heard of any issues. Everybody's still going as planned, but they just may arrive later than normal.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple of updates for you, most of which are good. The Weather Service in Houston has allowed that tornado warning to expire. Still very big wind with that, right? So Belleville to Hempstead, that strong wind is, well, it's moving through Belleville right now. Hempstead, you probably got about 15 minutes or so before it arrives for you. And that is still the strongest storm that we're looking at this hour. Rellis Campus, Smetana, things are starting to quiet down for you. Again, still give it some time before you maybe try to brave the roads, but we will finally stop hearing so much heavy rain here within the next half hour. One other thing I do want to look at, this is a radar look over a little bit more of the state. We still have some active strong storms up in western Texas. This trough of low pressure has not moved over the state just yet, but the way that these thunderstorms have moved through and gotten us down into the 60s and kind of eliminated that little extra layer of instability here closer to the surface, we will watch these storms as we head into the overnight hours and into tomorrow, but for right now, I think the severe threat that goes along with that is going to be pretty minimal. They're working with a different air mass out there. These are dry line thunderstorms in largely untouched areas today that are working with a much more unstable environment than we are. But even though they're in San Angelo, so many, many hours away, that will continue to push eastbound. And so we'll watch that for later on tonight into tomorrow morning. If we do see any of that activity, which I think it would be few and far between, then the flooding threat will continue at least a little bit into tomorrow morning. So again, a lot of this has already been confirmed, right? The heavy rain, the flooding concern, and we've seen some strong winds out of these, but the good news is that tornado threat continues to go down. No active tornado warnings at this point. This is a look at our future radar, which starts at about 6 o'clock, continues to have that pushing out, and again, maybe a couple lingering showers and rumbles through dinner time, but the potential that we stay quiet for several hours headed into the overnight. And if those storms hold together, it's probably closer to about 2, 3 o'clock in the morning tomorrow, which right now it has those really fizzling out as they get to the Brazos Valley or before they get to the Brazos Valley. But that still bodes well for that Friday morning drive and really for the rest of the day on Friday too.
Max, I've got a couple of reports coming in from the Brenham area. I put a message out on Facebook asking folks what they're seeing. A lot of pictures of downed trees, tree limbs that have been snapped. 36 North in Brenham has reports. The west side of Brenham, a lot of heavy, strong winds. One viewer saying we need to check on Burton. Apparently they've got some damage over in the Burton area, power outages along 290. So Brenham's certainly feeling the impacts of the storm. Don't see any major damage, no structural damage of any kind, just a lot of trees down and some power outages.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, repeating ourselves a little bit here, but there's been very heavy rain, even though Washington County hasn't been one of the harder hit spots as far as rain over the past several weeks. It's saturated there too. And with the heavy rain and the strong winds, not surprising at all. And it still looks like we could be finding at least, I would say at least 50-mile-per-hour winds right along that. This is, I believe, off of Southwest Parkway from a little bit earlier.
Yeah, that's one of the apartment complexes
Yes.
on Southwest Parkway.
Again, that's a truck with a lift kit that is very close to taking on water, right?
Yeah, I've got a couple of reports also coming in right around the Hensel Park area, so behind Century Square, on Hensel, near Hensel Park and the Charlotte Sharp Children's Center. I've got a couple of photos of vehicles that are stranded in water and people trying to get those drivers out. So that area that is right behind Century Square near the Charlotte Sharp Children's Center, avoid that at all costs. That looks like a mess right now.
Yeah. I mean, that's from Zach Yeager. That's just,
Welborn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a great time to be out. And with the rain still actively falling, I don't know that it will look quite that bad because we haven't seen rain rates like we did earlier since this next round came through. But at the very least, people are taking it slow there, right? So again, good news is by the time we get closer to about 7, 8 o'clock, this is not going to be something that you see a ton of. But just a neighborhood street, right?
That's Greens Prairie, down in Welborn area, Reuter Road, so right around where Welborn Middle School is, Max. Apparently, they're dealing with a lot of trouble down there in Welborn, south of the Castlegate area. But what you're looking at there from Mr. Doug is Greens Prairie near Reuter.
Yeah, by Greens Prairie, Pecan Trail, Welborn Middle School, that whole area. And again, it's just a neighborhood road that typically those retention ponds and the creeks that run through neighborhoods and stuff like that take care of the excess water, run that out. There just was not enough time for that to happen with this round of storms that rolled through. So.
Do we have any shots from downtown Bryan? The only reason I asked earlier, they had Main Street they were going to be blocking off because of some high water. I'm just curious to see how downtown Bryan. Wonderful. Okay, they're going to check on that here in a second.
Okay, cool. And again, I think what we're at least witnessing here at the studio, very slowly but surely, the rain's not quite as heavy. So again, we're going to continue that clearing from west to east. Though there is a little bit of activity to the west of there, it's a lot quieter and it's a lot more isolated. So there's where, at least according to the National Weather Service, the biggest flooding concern is maybe on the very far south end of Brazos County, the very far north end. The flooding is not quite as bad, but it's still not recommended that you get out and you drive right now. There's downtown Bryan, which looks a lot different than it did about an hour ago.
It looks better.
Yeah.
We were certainly hearing a lot of reports of water covering, especially on Main Street. A lot of the problems we're seeing in the cities have been a little bit more focused and centered in the College Station area. But Bryan has also had its fair share of some of these residential areas that have gone underwater. Some of the places that typically flood along the feeder road of Highway 6. We saw earlier, just after 4 o'clock, when things really started to come down, there was a pickup truck that ran off the highway, went into the median, the center part of the highway, and it was already underwater.
Yeah, we can handle this view, right? If this is what it looks like through the rest of the afternoon, that'll be just fine. Berkeley pointed out that along with this very windy storm that's moving into Hempstead right now, there's probably some hail to go along with that. It was sampling anywhere from nickel to quarter-size hail. So again, still an active severe thunderstorm warning that includes most of Waller County all the way back up to Prairie View. Magnolia, you're not technically included in it because I think the stronger wind is going to stay just off to the south of 105. But Austin County, western Waller County, there's the Brazos River right there. Again, there's 290 headed toward the Houston area. Then after that is the greater Houston area. So this storm is going to continue to crash right into the west side of Houston at a not great time for driving either. So if you did have plans maybe to try to get to the airport a little bit later this evening, this is absolutely something that could impact you on your way there. But that will continue to move south and eastward out of the area. Rain's quieting down pretty nicely here at the studio right now. There are a couple of lightning strikes. With some of this shower activity that's on the western side of town, you still see that within these maroon boxes, Milam and Robertson County is still technically included in these flash flood warnings. So that could make things maybe marginally worse, but largely you can tell just by looking at it, it is more isolated off to the west and much, much stronger for our southern counties now. And again, this will continue to wrap up here in BCS. The most widespread stuff is actively wrapping up right now. And the good news is, though, I do think that we will have to watch the radar over the next several hours, especially into the overnight hours. The flooding threat is going to continue to wind down. This is a look at the radar over the past several hours. And again, note that it's congealing into a line now, which makes me think that tornado threat is a little bit lower. But up next is greater Houston area. So again, fortunately, we're going to start to wrap things up as it gets a little bit stronger down, a little bit closer to the coast.
Max, let me point out a couple of trouble spots that we are starting to see a little bit more of as this second round comes through. Highway 6 is starting to become a real big issue, all the way from, I'll begin up in Bryan, from Boonville Road, all the way down south to the Emerald Parkway. So Harvey Mitchell Parkway southbound is at a parking lot right now. Near the Sam's Club, so Harvey Road at Post Oak Mall, Harvey Road all the way to 30 over there to Boonville, that is also at a standstill. And Morgan Rydell, our reporter, who we heard from just a second ago, she said she can't get northbound on 6 because of flooding. She was in the Bryan area earlier. So where we were not seeing as many issues with Highway 6 earlier in the hour, we are beginning to see just a little bit more of a slowdown. You can see there our camera, and I believe that's our Rock Prairie, our Harvey Road. Yeah, that's the Harvey Road camera there from our TxDOT network of cameras. So Highway 6 and Harvey Road. If you go west of that on Harvey, all the way from Highway 6 on down to the 30 intersection, that is at a standstill. So around Veterans Park, both on the university side and Harvey Road side, I've had parents reach out. They're trying to get down to Power Sports. They're having to go through back roads as well. Max, before I go over to you, I'm also hearing from a few folks on the east end of Brazos County, so 1179, Grasper Road, they're starting to see some of that water come up over there. So now we're seeing it spill from the city over into the county, especially on the east side of Brazos County.
And that's where we're probably going to shift more to. This will clear up within the next hour or two. This is probably going to be a couple of days where we still have those issues from eastern Brazos County and anywhere off to the east. We have had a couple of people reach out and say that Washington County has said there's a tornado warning in effect. I don't know if that's maybe just some late messaging or if it just got kind of lost in the weeds a little bit. But if you're in Washington County, apart from right at the Brazos River in southeastern Washington County, the severe threat is over for you. It's likely still a little bit breezy and won't say no to some additional flooding in your area. But the imminent severe weather threat, additional winds, the tornado threat, all of that is well off to your south and east right now. So again, still some strong winds. Right now I'm rolling through Hempstead, but that's going into Waller County, and it is almost now the leading edge of that stronger wind, almost into Harris County. So we're almost through, at least with the strongest part of this storm, as far as the rest of the Brazos Valley is concerned. Very